Hello everyone, and welcome back to Picture Mavericks. Okay, I need you to stay with me on this one, because I know what you are thinking. Robot Dog Movie. Low budget. 2018. Came and went in 2 weeks. Probably not worth your time. You are wrong. And today I am going to prove it. EXL is a film about a kid named Miles who finds a classified military robot in the desert. A robot that looks like a wolf, moves like a predator, can hack satellites, and has enough firepower to level a small building. And instead of running, which is absolutely what any sensible person would do, Miles decides to help it. That decision is the entire film. Everything that follows, the bond that forms, the loyalty that develops, the chaos that erupts when the military comes to take their asset back, all of it grows from that one moment of a kid choosing kindness over self-preservation. Released in 2018 and directed by Oliver Daly, EXL had a small budget and a limited release and made almost no cultural impact whatsoever, which is genuinely criminal, because this film is doing something that the biggest sci-fi blockbusters of that year were not. It is building a relationship between a boy and a non-human companion from the ground up, earning every emotional beat rather than assuming it, and delivering an ending that is braver than anything a film at this budget level had any obligation to attempt. E.T. The Iron Giant. Those are the films EXL belongs next to, not in terms of budget or cultural legacy, in terms of what it is trying to do and how honestly it does it. Let's get into it. The first thing EXL gets right, and it is more important than it sounds, is that Miles is not special. Not in the chosen one sense. Not in the secretly gifted prodigy sense. He is not the kid who was always destined to find the robot. He is just a kid, a motocross rider from a modest background, raised by his dad after losing his mom, talented enough on a bike to get noticed at local level, but without the money or the connections to go anywhere with it. That ordinariness is the film's first smart decision, because the emotional logic of the story only works if Miles's loneliness is real. If he were extraordinary, the robot choosing him would make narrative sense, but emotional sense. The extraordinary find the extraordinary. But Miles is not extraordinary. He is just a decent, slightly isolated kid who is trying to figure out where he fits and has not found the answer yet. His dad is present and loving in the specific way that single parents in modest circumstances are present and loving, which is to say doing everything he can with what he has and knowing it might not be quite enough. The relationship is warm without being sentimental. Miles loves his dad. His dad loves him. Neither of them can fully give the other what they need. That gap is where Miles lives. The motocross world he is trying to break into is one where money and connections matter as much as skill, and Miles has the skill without the rest of it. He is talented enough to belong and excluded enough to know he does not quite. That particular kind of loneliness, close enough to touch something you want but not close enough to reach it, is the emotional condition the film is setting up. And then he drives his bike into the desert at night and finds the thing that is going to change everything. The desert sequence is the film's most important scene, and it is handled beautifully. Miles is out riding alone when he finds EXL, shut down, damaged, lying in the dark in the middle of nowhere, far from the facility that built it, and clearly in some kind of distress. It is enormous. It is clearly dangerous. Everything about it says turn around and ride away as fast as possible. Miles does not ride away. He approaches, slowly, carefully, the way you approach an animal that is hurt and scared and might lash out. And EXL, responding to the gentleness in that approach, does not lash out. It holds still. It lets him get close. And then, in the film's most quietly magical moment, it lets him help. What that scene is doing is establishing the emotional contract of the entire film. Miles is not helping EXL because he knows it is safe or because he understands what it is. He is helping it because it is hurt, and he is the kind of person who helps things that are hurt. That is a character choice, not a plot necessity. And it tells you everything you need to know about Miles before a single word of backstory has been delivered. EXL's response to being treated gently is the other half of the contract. This is a machine that was built to be a weapon, programmed for combat and threat assessment and mission completion. Kindness is not in its parameters. And yet when kindness is offered, something in its processing responds to it. Not because it was designed to, because something in the interaction produces a result its designers did not account for. Two beings who do not fully understand each other choosing trust anyway. That is the whole movie in one scene. And the film knows it. Here is where I want to push back on the people who dismissed AXL as a special effects showcase with a thin story underneath. Because AXL is a character, not a prop, not a device. A character with an arc that the film tracks carefully and takes seriously. AXL was built to be the perfect military asset. Loyal to its handler, lethal to everything else, programmable, controllable, deployable. The ultimate weapon dressed up as man's best friend. The military people who created it see it as hardware. An asset with a designation and a mission profile and a return to base protocol. And then Miles happens to it. What Miles does, simply by treating AXL with consistency and warmth and genuine interest, is start rewriting the programming from the inside. Not deliberately. He is not a scientist or a hacker. He is just a kid who talks to it, plays with it, shows it things, and responds to its responses. And AXL, which was designed to bond with a handler, bonds. Completely and without reservation. The play sequences are the film's most joyful stretch and also its most emotionally precise. Watching AXL learn what it means to just exist with someone, to run alongside a motorbike not because it is pursuing a target, but because running alongside the bike is fun, is genuinely delightful. The robot is discovering something its creators never gave it access to. Being a dog. Not a weapon shaped like a dog. An actual dog, with all the loyalty and joy and fierce protection that implies. The film earns every emotional beat it is going for because it does not rush this process. It lets the bond develop at a pace that feels real. By the time AXL is doing something that looks unmistakably like love, the film has shown you enough of how it got there that you believe it completely. Sarah is the film's second genuine relationship, and she is handled well. She is not a typical love interest. She is a person with her own situation, her own pressures, her own reasons for being out in the desert that night. Her dynamic with Miles is warm and a little awkward and entirely believable as two teenagers who like each other and are not entirely sure what to do about that. And her introduction into Miles and AXL's world produces the film's best question. Will AXL accept her? The answer is yes. And the way AXL decides to trust Sarah, following Miles's lead, treating his acceptance of her as sufficient reason for its own, is the clearest demonstration in the film that AXL's loyalty has transcended its original programming. It is not just bonded to Miles. It is bonded to Miles's world, to the things and people that matter to him. The antagonists work on two levels that complement each other. The military trying to recover their asset represents the institutional force that sees AXL as property, as hardware to be retrieved and reset and redeployed. And the rich kid antagonist, who is threatened by Miles and has the money and connections to make that threat costly, represents the social system that has always excluded Miles. Both of them want to take something from Miles. Both of them underestimate what AXL has become. The action sequences in the film's second half are genuinely exciting. AXL is a terrifying thing to have on your side, and the film is not shy about demonstrating this. But what makes the action sequences work is not the spectacle. It is the fact that AXL is protecting Miles. Every decision it makes, every threat it neutralizes, every moment of violence it commits or prevents, is in service of keeping the person it loves safe. That motivation makes the action mean something. It is not cool for cool's sake. It is loyalty expressed through capability. Let's talk about the ending. Because this is where AXL earns its place on the underrated gems list permanently. The climax puts AXL in an impossible situation. The military has cornered them. The options are narrowing. And AXL makes a choice that the film does not flinch away from. A choice that costs it everything and gives Miles the only thing it can give him in that moment. I am not going to spell out every detail because the ending deserves to land on you fresh if you have not seen it. What I will say is this. The film makes a genuinely difficult choice at the end. Not the safe choice. Not the crowd-pleasing choice that most family sci-fi films at this budget level would have made. The honest choice. The one that the story was always building toward if you were paying attention. What Miles loses in the ending is real. The film does not minimize it or wrap it in false comfort. Something extraordinary came into his life and changed him, and then it was gone, and the film sits with that loss for long enough that it actually lands. That is not something you do by accident. That is a filmmaking decision made with confidence and conviction. What Miles carries forward is the point. He is not the same kid who drove his bike into the desert that night. AXL found him and chose him and trusted him, and that changes a person. The ordinariness that defined Miles at the start of the film has been replaced by something else. He knows now that he is someone worth choosing. That is not a small thing to learn. The final beat of the film is the right one. I will say that much. It is earned, and it is hopeful without being dishonest. And it leaves you with exactly the feeling a film like this should leave you with. Quiet and a little wrecked and grateful you watched it. AXL deserved a bigger audience in 2018, and it deserves one now. It is not a perfect film. The middle section leans on some genre conventions it could have subverted. Some of the supporting characters exist primarily as obstacles rather than people. The budget shows in places where a bigger production would have pushed further. But none of that touches the thing at the center of the film, which is the bond between Miles and AXL. That bond is real. The film builds it carefully and honestly, and it pays it off with more courage than most studio films 10 times its budget would have shown. This is a boy and his dog story. Except the dog was built in a military lab, can hack satellites, and has enough firepower to stop a convoy. And somehow, impossibly, it is also one of the most genuine and emotionally honest versions of that story that the genre has produced in years. The Iron Giant asked whether a gun could choose to be something else. AXL asks the same question and finds the same answer. Yes, if someone shows it what else looks like first. Miles showed AXL what else looks like. And AXL, against every parameter it was ever given, chose it. Find this film. Watch it on the best screen you have. And when the ending hits, let it hit. It has earned that from you. Thank you for watching Picture Mavericks. And if this breakdown gave you something new to think about, consider subscribing because we go deeper, so you do not have to. See you in the next one.